Welcome back to Champagne Thorns. I have a guest host, Rick. Low key, he's also the one that puts together the YouTube video, so thanks. We just had our first episode of The Bachelor with Zach.
Yeah, it was
And
interesting.
yeah, you know what? I'm not a big huge fan of Zach. He just seems like very bland.
Yeah, I've been saying that anyone who asks me like directly why they should watch this season, that it's kind of the changing of the guard. It's going back to what Bachelor was before Colton.
Mhm.
Um, and God damn if we didn't see that night one. A lot of the a lot of the lead drama that we've seen in previous seasons wasn't there. He did a really nice job handling himself and the girls, and pretty damn good first episode.
He did, yeah. Especially where he escorted Madison out because she interrupted so much and was like hogging a bunch of time with him.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on Madison that I think I'll hold for later in the show. But yeah, I mean, in a couple situations, he really didn't act or respond in ways that we have seen other male leads for sure, but even other female leads do in the last X years. Colton for me is really kind of like that dividing line in Bachelor for when it really went off the rails. Um, so to kind of see a return, because that's what the people have been asking for, right? They're asking for more real, they're asking for less of the nonsense. And
Yeah.
night one had all that drama in it, but it
Yeah.
didn't feel like it was nonsensical high fantasy bullshit.
Right. I mean, like
So
it did have like a lot of like its cliche stuff. Like I think that like the one that I noted is that he's like staring off into the ocean on a kid and he's like, literally, I could be meeting my future wife. And I was just like, oh my God, like I haven't heard that in other fucking Bachelor seasons or
no,
Bachelorette seasons.
but it's been over 20 years. I mean, at a certain point, the show is self-aware.
Yeah.
So for as much of that is fake and cliche, like it's fake and cliche because The Bachelor did it first and has now done it
Hmm.
for so long that it's almost a trope you have to fulfill because it's
Right.
it's it's the show. It would be like CSI without a flashy intro. Like you have to have those scenes, the expected things. But I'm excited to see where they deviate from the formula and do some new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's funny when you mentioned CSI, it just just like the dramatic, like the dude that takes off his sunglasses and he's like, "Oh, must have had a sweet tooth," or some cliche line like that.
That's Bachelor. That's what Bachelor has become. I mean, for all the reality show it still is. It's a sitcom at worst, and it's a situational drama at best. Like
Yeah,
it's scripted TV that has the veneer of unscripted on it.
right. Yeah. I mean, because like when he said literally I could be me to my future wife, I was sitting there and I was just like, it was just like, okay, out of all the Bachelor and the Bachelorette seasons, how many of them are still married? Like,
But you saw who they had lubing them down in the
right.
shower, and so I think that's kind of the narrative that right, Disney, right? We'll just say the D word. It's Disney. You see the narrative they're
Yeah.
leaning into. They're not stupid. They've seen the returns on their investment over the last couple seasons, and it's not good enough. So if
Right.
leaning into the fantasy of a happily ever after is what they need to do, they'll do it.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, like even like when Sean came on, like because me and Riley were watching it together, like Riley looked at me and he was just like, "Who's Sean?" And I was just like, "Beats me." Like,
Well, and in TV cycles, and especially in social media cycles, it's ages ago.
yeah,
Casual fans are going to have no idea. If you haven't been watching Bachelor for forever, who is this guy? And it's a perfectly reasonable response.
Right. Well, yeah, because I mean, he said that he's like been married for 10 years or something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
I
even
mean,
even like Colton's season, I think was 2016, which is forever ago.
it
I mean, that's a long time
is, yeah.
in the social consciousness, right? So you have people who've never watched before, or people who started watching 5 years ago, and they don't even know that evolution of the show, let alone going back further.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, I'm
it's
I'm
a,
very much guilty, especially from coming in for Kate's season. I mean, we called her Dildo Kate. I mean, because let's be honest, she earned that title.
like I said,
But
but
yeah,
Katie was already part of that cycle.
right, yeah.
So it's a whole different vibe. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing as long as ABC Disney can do it correctly. If you can guide this season, right? Because we know they edit on the fly, right? The show's been filmed for 5 months, but the editing's not done, right? Because they edit it based on response, they edit it based on the narrative they're trying to tell.
Right.
And I think if they can hit the nail on the head with the edit, and Zach happens to still be in a happy relationship come the end of the airing of the show, I think that they can do the most work that they can to put that in a position where people feel good about it and people want to watch The Bachelor again. Because
Yeah.
shows like Too Hot to Handle have cut into people's capital for shows, right? There's only so much time to binge watch shitty shows.
True, yeah. I mean, because I remember the first episode of Too Hot to Handle. I mean, I definitely binge watched it, but I was just like, okay, like that's enough until like the next season comes on. And, it wasn't like Stranger Things for me. Like I binge watched it and I was just like, okay, I can't wait until the next season. Like Too Hot to Handle, I was just like, okay, that was a shit ton of drama. I can take a break from it.
Well, and it's probably more of a conversation for Loving and Loathing, which is another one of our shows on the channel here. But Too Hot to Handle is a show that like made reality TV make sense for me. Um,
Yep.
but like that's not what I'm looking. I'm not looking to have like a existential experience when I'm watching reality TV. I want trash, and I want it in bite-sized pieces, and I want to be able to play fantasy. I want to be able to play fantasy sports on it. So,
Yeah, I mean,
and
like I've said in previous episodes, that's originally what drew me into watching Bachelor and Bachelorette, because like you mentioned to me, you were just like, oh, there's like a fantasy Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I was just like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I was like, okay, that makes me want to watch it.
and it's picking up. And I'll do a plug because I edit all the videos. The Rose League still the best way to play a fantasy bachelor. Biggest game on the internet, confirmed. Confirmed today. I looked at all the numbers today.
Oh,
Number one. So,
congratulations,
but
congratulations.
but this is a great cast of girls. This is very very well. So if what they're trying to do is make Zach's story resonate with the people who've been unhappy, this
Hmm.
is a phenomenal cast of girls, and we saw some characters night one.
Yes.
So I have my
Yeah.
favorites, and I'm hoping that they pull through in a way that makes sense from a fantasy standpoint, but also a show standpoint.
Yeah. Same with, yeah, I definitely have my favorites, and again, I feel god awful about it because I can never remember the girls' names, because I mean, like, aside from maybe like, God, maybe 10 of them, like they all pretty much just start blurring together and they start looking alike, and I'm just like, wait, who is that? Wait, who is that? Like,
30 girls is a lot. Night one is always a lot,
yeah,
but eliminating 10 on night one really gets us to a spot where it's cleaner.
yeah. I mean, cause I mean, even for um last season for like the bachelorettes, when like they didn't have like the rose ceremony, and so they kept all the guys, but like it like pans over the mansions, and like people are sleeping on like the outdoor furniture. And, like, Like they're sleeping on like couches and like the like seating area. Like so definitely dropping 10 girls would eliminate a lot of the cattiness or just like a lot of like, well, I didn't get sleep because, Brooklyn was snoring all night. Like, all right, so we're gonna do our big three. So it's gonna be our favorite, our least favorite, and then a surprise. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and start it off.
I hope you don't
Um,
steal mine.
well, I mean, like, so my favorite is that it is just all Christina Mandrell.
Damn it. Damn it.
But you know what? So like a thing about like for my favorite for Christina Mandrell, the one that like really sticks out is that it was her and two other girls and they had the same dress on, but they were different colors. Like, and I feel like that she handled that like pretty gracefully. Like instead of just being like, "Oh my God, like you fucking bitch," like, you had the same goddamn like dress as me. She was just like, "Oh my God, is that the same dress?" And she was just like, "Oh, that's actually like kind of cool. Like, three of us have the same dress, just different colors."
So I had the exact same favorite, and for a lot of the same reason here. We hear so much from, I call them characters, right? If you haven't watched any of my shows, these are characters. So
Hmm.
we always have these female characters who are talking about building each other up and supporting women, and we never see it. You never see it in action. And having some of the background information we do on Christina and some of the forward-facing information we have on Christina, I'm expecting her to come in. Minor spoiler. I try not to do this on Champagne and Thorns, but like I'm expecting her to have this villain edit, and they really set her up
Oh
for it in
yeah,
night one,
that's
and it
yeah.
didn't happen. It didn't happen. The girls interrupted her, and she had the same dress, and it didn't really happen. And we saw her instead being really, really supportive of the other women. Very vocal in the house and very, very. I don't want to say aggressively forward, but present. That's something we don't usually see from female characters or being portrayed as villains. So to have that all in the night one episode where the screen time was really, really weird, I thought it said a lot about both her, right? Because it happened, right? However they edited it, the things that she did happen. But then also the direction that Disney's taking. Because I thought it was a really unique spin on what is usually just catfighting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, because that was like another part of my notes too, is that she gives Shanae vibes for me. She just kind of
Mm.
seems absolutely bonkers. Like one of the like what because I mean she came in like that big party bus, and so one of the girls was just like, "Oh my God, did you like drive a bus here?" And then she snapped back and she was just like, "Do I look like a bus driver?" And I was like, "Wow." I thought that was gonna like get a little catty, but the girl that she kind of like snapped at like handled it really well.
I'm glad you brought that up because I mean, shots fired at bus drivers. Come on now.
Bus drivers got to make a living.
I don't think I had any attractive bus drivers growing up, but there's got to be some out there.
There has to be. Well, I mean, I'm definitely a little bit sidestepping, but like my oldest sister, she gave me like a $10 like gift card to Dunkin' Donuts, and I was just like, oh, okay, like this is pretty cool. And she was like, I know that like I wasn't your secret Santa, and she was just like, but this was supposed to go to my niece's bus driver, but the bus driver was driving drunk with a bunch of kids in the bus. And
Jesus
so,
Christ.
yeah, so like, my sister was telling me that, and she was just like, yeah, I mean, like the bus driver was really nice, but like after that incident, like the bus driver gets nothing. And I was just like, understandably so. Like,
There,
so that was
there.
that was the holiday drama at my family's.
I feel like that's a pretty legitimate drama.
Right. That's
That's
a pretty
there's a
legitimate.
There's a Twitter account called Mugshot Shorties, and I feel like if there was a hot bus driver who was driving kids drunk, it'd probably end up on there. Shout
Keep your
out
eyes
Mugshot
peeled.
Shorties. Follow me back.
All right, ready to move on to the least favorite.
So
Uh,
go ahead. I need to formulate some thoughts. So if you've got yours ready to go, by all means.
um, so in like my little notes, the only thing I'm sorry, I have least favorite, and then it's just Greer. Um, and it's and it says simply because who shakes a champagne bottle? Because it's like when she was doing her intro, like even when we were watching it, she was sitting there and she was like, oh my God, do I shake the champagne bottle? And me and Riley were like, who shakes the champagne bottle? We were like losing it.
I was trying to figure out how much was like sexual innuendo and how much was trying to like harken back to other champagne disasters on night one. I'm not convinced that Greer did all that without some influence.
Hmm.
But she was an interesting character. Right before we started filming, I figured it out. She looks like Summer Glau, who
Okay.
is the girl from Firefly. I'm sure she's been in like a
Oh,
hundred other things, but
yeah.
she looks like that. I know the group chat in the Rose League, the league chat in the Rose League, the only live scored Fantasy Bachelor app. The chat was going off about how young she looked. Um,
Yeah, she did. She looked like a child.
I like the dress. I like the dress a lot. That's a very loud dress. I'll leave it there.
Okay. Do you have what's your least favorite?
My least favorite, as the dog park are losing their mind over here. My least favorite was Madison. Um, that entire, I think it's fair to say, like as it happened, was unacceptable, right? And
Hmm.
then leading into the drama of it. But I kept finding myself like gender swapping it. And if we have a bachelorette and there's a guy acting like that on night one, it is the end of the world.
Yeah.
Forcing the lead to kiss them, acting generally clingy, cringy. And I understand that men and women are different. Understand the edit left a lot out. But as I was watching, as someone who watches a lot of this, right, and has talked at length about some of the social implications of the show,
Oh yeah.
I felt very uncomfortable gender swapping the roles. And I'm trying to think more along those lines. Because as a male fan watching, like, yeah, it's a drunk girl and she was dumb. And I thought Zach handled it really, really well.
He did.
Um, but I think if you want to talk about equality and you want to talk about the social issues at the core of that, just gender swap it in your head. Would it have been okay if she was a guy acting like that with a
Right.
female lead? And I don't know how you get to a yes answer. And that's not to say that what happened wasn't okay, but that's where I kept finding myself. So that entire situation with Madison was my least favorite part of the night and made her my least favorite girl. Even though from a fantasy standpoint, whew, she put up
She racked up
numbers.
points. I couldn't believe it.
And that's like the dichotomy for me. It's just like, all right, so we talk about this show and we think about this show from that social aspect, from the human aspect, and like I was a little uncomfortable with it. But then I'm like checking my points and I'm like, yes, she is putting up numbers. And it's like this is entertainment. And as I referred to earlier, like they're characters.
Yeah.
So it's important not to lose sight of the people.
Yeah.
But I find it really hard to decouple myself from the idea that they're characters in this show.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean like because I think that like with the whole like gender swapping thing, so I mean like the word that comes to mind whenever I think of Madison, it's aggressive. Like she was very aggressive. And so I think that like with that thought process, like it can kind of be a little bit easier to like do like the gender swapping. Because it's just like what I mean, she interrupted like two separate girls.
I think we scored it for 3 times, and what Reality Steve was saying is
Oh
it was
yeah.
more than that.
Yeah, because I mean like because I know that because she got on the party bus. Um, and I mean, like she had like a trail of girls like behind her, so then I don't think that like it was kind of hard to notice it because I was watching it again today. It was kind of hard to notice it, but like, you know, Madison chimes in and she was just like, "Oh, well, like Christine was on the party bus, so I decided to go on the party bus." Um, yeah, and I mean like she interrupted him a lot and she was just like very aggressive, which understandably is like
But it's part of the show. It's an
it
accepted
is.
part of the show. So you really have to measure what's real against what's not. And I just know that from a viewer standpoint, there was a scene where she was crying late into the night, right before she got sent home at the crack of dawn. But she's missing 3 nails on one hand, and
What?
that doesn't just happen. So I don't know what else was going on that we didn't get to see. Like I said, if somebody from ABC ends up watching our shows, I would pay like huge money, bigger than the money that they get for CBS Prime or Peacock or other shit is. I want 24/7 cameras that I can watch. I want to see what else is going on in this house because she was missing a lot of nails, and that isn't just like a sad 15 minutes thing. That's a 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. breakdown thing. And that's what we don't get to see, right? We only get the edit.
Right. I can't believe that I didn't notice that she was missing fucking nails.
Yeah, it's the
What?
first time she goes crying, she's like holding her glass, and you can see she's got I think it was her pointer and her pinky left, and her thumb and her middle fingers are missing her nails.
Wow. Dang, I gotta watch that again. Like
I wouldn't
I
have caught
gotta
it. Shout out to Twitter.
yeah, that's wild. I'm gonna have to like look out for that. Like just actually because I didn't finish like rewatching the episode, but like when I finish it, I have to like look out for that. God. Yeah,
That's
seriously, that
part of
makes
it,
you
right?
wonder like what the fuck happened?
Now there's an hour and 24 minutes that we get to see each episode, but it's days, right? The,
Yeah.
the first night is the closest we come to real time, and we're missing 7 hours on 40 cameras. So it's
Yeah. So
interesting. It's always an
when you
interesting
get
show.
yeah, when you get in touch with like the producers for The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and they give you a price for how much it is, I will happily donate to the cause. Okay, so what is your surprise?
My big surprise for the episode was Brianna.
Oh,
I had
okay.
advised against her from a fantasy standpoint, but then said that you probably had to take her just because of the exposure, just because of getting America's First Impression Rose and the way they were treating her in previews. She's had a lot of exposure coming in, and I think she did a really good job taking her time with Zach, but also allowing the other girls to have that time. When she comes out holding her long stemmed rose in a beautiful rose dress, I'm like, oh. And the edit they gave us, the girls were even like, oh, I bet she's gonna come in with all this fanfare and like, because
Yeah.
she's safe, right? She can do whatever she wants as long as she doesn't get
Yeah.
kicked off. She's safe. So I thought that I was surprised by and impressed by the fact that she took her time and acknowledged kind of her place, right, while still being there to win Zach's heart, whatever we're winning. But allowed the girls who didn't have a rose yet to have their time. At least in the edit we got, she had that one isolated sit down with Zach where she handled herself really well. And yeah, I expected the worst when she showed up in a dress that matched her already awarded rose, but I thought she handled herself incredibly well, and that was a big surprise to me.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with it because I know that there was one of the girls, she was like complimenting like Brianna's dress. She was just like, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful." And she was just like, "Oh, and it even has roses." Like almost kind of seemed like that the girl was like hinting like, "Oh, okay, like you're kind of showing off." But then she just kind of like brushed it off and then she was just like, "Yeah, like it was completely on accident." Like again, like with kind of like how we figured out how the show works, like I imagine that the producers were just like, and this will be your entrance gown. Like
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it was anything but that.
you're right, yeah. Like I doubt that Brianna was like walking up like looking through dresses and she was just like, oh my God, a red rose dress, oh perfect. uh so um my surprise was Bailey because when she came in at Zach, like because I know that during like the after the final rose, like she said like her line like what you need to think on the daily is
Yeah, on the daily,
Bailey or
think of
whatever.
Bailey. Yeah,
Yeah. And then of course like not too long later like Zach's sitting there and he was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna put like Bailey into my coffee or whatever," and there was like, and it's like, what, like, and I mean, like, who knows? Like, maybe he was just like exhausted and it was just like his brain just wasn't functioning, or who knows? But like, I feel like that she handled it like kind of gracefully, like when she came out of the car. Like she just made kind of like a snide comment about it, and then Zach was just like, "Oh God, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry about it." And then I mean, she got a
well,
kiss out of
well,
it,
she had the
so.
name tag. She had the name tag.
Oh right, yeah. She was just like, "Yeah, just so that you don't forget my name." But I guess I
Yeah, so
mean like, oh, continue. Sorry.
no, I missed it live. We were scoring, and then she was at the back end of like a rapid fire package. So I'm scoring the girls who had brought props and shit, and I'm looking down, and Kendall and Ashley, who I'm watching with, are just losing it. And I look up and I missed the whole kiss. And I thought that she had kissed him, which I thought would have been really not a good play. But then
Right.
we
Oh,
watched it
he
back
kissed
during the
her.
commercial break, and I'm like, yeah, that I like that a lot.
Hmm. Because like, because especially like when the girls come out of like the limos, I feel like that like some people like shoot their shot or whatever, but like nothing really comes to mind that like when somebody first comes out of like the limo, like they automatically just like give them a kiss. But
Bachelor
again, like
Data, Bachelor Data, who if you're not following on Instagram, you really need to be. Um, there's been like five, and none of them have made it past week six, and most of them don't make it past week two or three.
oh wow. Okay.
So just saying, be
Well,
careful.
yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, let's hope like I haven't put in my season long picks yet. I have to do a little bit of digging for that. Do
I'll
my
tell you what,
research
I
on
don't know.
it.
I don't know who did the pricing, but it is challenging.
Is it?
Oh,
God,
I,
I
I made
don't
the
I
price.
don't want
I
to
made the
think
pricing
about
too
it.
good. I made the pricing too good
God.
because I did it. I did it blind, right, without thinking of my lineup, so it would be fair. And I set my lineup today, and it's like,
You're like thinking to yourself, you're like, fuck, why did I do this?
yeah, it's too. It's there's so much game theory built into the pricing. It's just like I can't even. Oh, one
Well,
other
I
thing I got
mean,
to do before I forget. We got to shout out our girl Anastasia for wearing pants night one.
oh
Killer
yeah.
look. Killer look. I've never seen that before. She rocked it. Got a rose. Proud of her.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I feel like usually night one, you always like want to make an impressions with them, you know. They're to me, they're pretty much wearing prom dresses. Like,
Yes. Well,
that's
most of
just the
them
vibe that I
are
get.
pageant girls anyway.
Right, yeah.
Or
I mean,
nurses.
again, given that Christina and two other girls had the same goddamn dress, like it brings me back to like, you know, going to J.C. Penney or like, you know, Sears or, you
There's only
know,
so many
like
dresses at a department store in a small town.
right, yeah. And if like you like went to the mall and you're just like, oh yeah, there's so many different stores. I was lucky that I never had anybody have the same prom dress as me, like when I was in high
Same,
school, but
same.
all right. So those were our big three. Do you have any more comments about the episode?
Nah, overall it was entertaining TV, which is all we can really
Hmm.
hope for. I'm really, really looking forward to the rest of the season. It's got high expectations in my book, and I hope it can live up to them.
Yeah, I mean, from the previews, it seems like there's going to be a lot of drama, and I'm
So
not gonna.
make sure you get that season lineup in.
I know, because what we have like 5 days or something like that, 4 days
Monday
maybe.
night. Monday night's the lock.
Oh God, yeah. I gotta do my research, and I gotta do like my snooping and stuff like that to figure out my season lineup. So, I mean, if you're interested, if you need something to do on Monday nights, like join the Rose League. It gives you something to watch, and it makes watching The Bachelor that much more entertaining. Because, you know, especially if you're watching with other people that you're in a league with, because, you know, you're sitting there and they're just like, guess her! Like, so yeah, join the Rose League. And we always have openings in the 602 Row Show.
You got to get that ad line down. The Rose
What's
League,
that?
the only live scoring fantasy
Oh,
bachelor app
yes. Yeah, I gotta
on
get, yeah.
iOS and Android.
I gotta get that tagline down. It's much better than batch bracket. Like, and it's so much easier. Should I
We have a
not say that?
working professional relationship with the batch bracket, but I mean, our app is
Okay,
the Rose League, so Rose League.
you could just edit that out. That's fine.
No, I'm not going to. Get your wine tumblers on the 602 shop. No white wine after dark.
Yes, it is just a sin against humanity. White wine after dark.
And if the fireside chat type of show is more your thing, Champagne and Thorns right here every week. Rotating cast of characters probably this year, but
Probably.
definitely a good time. Thanks for having me on.
Well, yes, thank you for joining me. Like so far we have Mayo and you, and then you know who knows, maybe Samantha will come back. Maybe we'll get other guests on here because we love the differences in opinions
Yeah,
and all that.
absolutely. And if
All right.
shorter content like clinical fantasy stuff is more, we got Rose Show. And just check out the channel. Check out the channel. If you're watching this video, you're on the channel already. Check out the rest of the videos. There's lots of cool stuff.
Yeah. A whole branch of stuff. But yeah, thanks for joining us this week. Be sure to join us next week. And we'll talk more about The Bachelor later.
Good luck.
Good luck.